There's a place on the south side of San Antonio where history never learned to rest. A quiet mission built in the 1700s, carrying a secret the tourists never hear about. Locals say if you walk the grounds after sunset, you'll hear children whispering in Spanish, calling for help, crying for someone who never made it back to them. Tonight, on the Nightroot Horror channel, we're diving into one of the most tragic urban horror encounters Texas has ever produced. The Ghost Children of San Juan Mission. Real quick, if you love true horror stories that actually happened, you're in the right place. I drop a new nightmare every Sunday at 3 p.m. and shorts throughout the week. Subscribe now so you don't miss one, because next week's story is even more disturbing than this one. San Juan Mission was more than a church. It was a refuge, a shelter, and for some, a last stop. During the 1700s and early 1800s, waves of disease tore through this area, measles, smallpox, wiping out entire families. The mission buried children faster than it could carve crosses, but one tragedy eclipses them all: a flood. Historical accounts describe a night when the river rose so fast that families barely had time to scream. Children were swept away before their parents even reached the outer steps. Dozens drowned before sunrise, and that's where the haunting begins. And that's when things got truly horrifying. But before I tell you what happened next, a quick reminder: I release a new true horror story every Sunday at 3 p.m. If you want more urban horror encounters like this, hit that subscribe button. All right, back to the nightmare. In 1976, longtime groundskeeper Miguel Herrera heard footsteps by the back courtyard after closing. He figured some kids had slipped in, but when he called out, no one answered. He rounded the corner and saw three small silhouettes facing the wall near the baptistry door, perfectly still, perfectly silent. When he lifted his lantern, they evaporated like smoke, leaving behind a trail of wet footprints leading straight toward the cemetery. Miguel quit the next morning, didn't even collect his final check. In 2012, a couple visiting from Houston heard giggling near the old irrigation channel. Thinking it was a school group, they ignored it. But later, when checking their photos, one picture had a small, watery handprint streaked across the side of their DSLR lens. A perfect shape, tiny fingers, dripping. There were no children around them that day, not one under 16. In 2019, a park ranger responded to reports of kids running near the orchard. When he arrived, he heard whispering in Spanish, "Ayuda, mamá," help, mom. He followed it to the riverbank. A little boy sat on the embankment, drenched, shivering, wearing clothes decades out of date. The ranger stepped forward, and the boy slid backward into the water without moving his legs. Just glided, disappearing without a splash. The audio from that night was reviewed, then sealed. Locals say the real activity peaks at midnight, the exact moment the river overflowed long ago. At 12 a.m., the bells sometimes ring on their own, and after the last toll, people see them, the children, standing in the field between the mission and the river, dripping wet, pale, confused, not angry, not vengeful, just lost. Still trying to reach the stone steps, still trying to outrun the flood that took them. If you visit San Juan Mission after dark, the air feels heavier. Some say that's history, others say that's grief. But those who've heard the whispers, the footsteps, the crying, they'll tell you this: the flood never ended for those children. They're still climbing, still reaching, still looking for someone to hear them. If you ever go looking for them, be careful. They might be waiting for someone to follow home. That's the end of the Ghost Children of San Juan Mission, but not the end of the nightmare. Next Sunday at 3 p.m., I'm covering one of the most disturbing clown encounter ever reported in Texas. You don't want to miss it. Subscribe now. Check out one or all of our full Urban Horror Encounters playlist in the description. And if you have your own true horror story, drop it in the comments or send it to darktalestoldbyu@gmail.com. I look through and read every submission. See you next Sunday, if you dare.